What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video, I want to talk about Life is Strange and specifically Life is Strange Double Exposure yet again. I saw this tweet actually from Adnan. Again, we've had him on the channel. Great guy and very good investigator here. He posted this article that basically just comes from this financial firm. So they had somebody do a little bit of a write-up. It was kind of like a summary type post, but Square Enix was on there, and they talk a little bit about it, talk a little bit about the future, a little bit about the past, and they mentioned kind of almost in like a throwaway sentence, but obviously it's impactful to us. They talk about Life is Strange Double Exposure, and I'll take it from his tweet. So they say this was offset by the large losses of Life is Strange Double Exposure, and the third quarter of the fiscal year ending March 2025 ended with a decrease in operating profit compared to the same period last year. However, the word that should be emphasized, or that we can really look at that's emphasized, is large losses of Life is Strange Double Exposure. Look, I know it didn't make everybody happy, but a game that brings back Hannah Telle, a game that has Max Caulfield, I do feel very sad and very just disappointed, even reading that. I'm not blaming, you could actually blame whoever you want. You could blame Square Enix, you could blame Deck Nine. I'm not blaming, I guess, no matter what, I'm not really blaming fans. Look, you got to speak with your wallet. You got to do what you believe is right. If you want to buy the game, you buy it. If you don't want to buy the game, you don't buy it. It's really as simple as that. But it does suck that, a game that has Max Caulfield, like, Life is Strange, I constantly bring up just how well that did, and just, it's a seller even till this day. People still buy the very first Life is Strange game. It's got that, eternal type feeling to it, and, you bring back its main character, and you would hope and you would expect, okay, there's no way this could do too bad, right? And I know Square Enix thinks everything is a failure. They thought Final Fantasy 16, they thought Rebirth, they probably thought Remake, pretty much any game from Square Enix that comes out, they always consider it a financial failure. But this one technically they did not say it, but a firm said it for them. So we'll have to see if they ever directly, and maybe they have, maybe I just missed it, but we'll have to see if they ever say, like, yeah, this was a colossal failure. But the one thing, okay, and I said this actually in the last video we talked about with Life is Strange, it does weirdly still give me hope for the future. I know Adnan actually went on the Twitter thread to talk about some of his own scoops, and that he's heard, the people that went to those, survey tests, right? We've talked about those, that the people that were invited, and you get to basically tell Square Enix what you think of Life is Strange, what you think about the future. He was saying that people were coming back, and they're under NDA. They're not supposed to do this, but they were sharing that they were not thrilled with the direction that the game is going. So it seems like if you go to these surveys, again, they have to handpick you, okay? So maybe they're not going to pick somebody that would be a little controversial, but the people that are coming back, they're showing something. They're showing something about the future of Life is Strange to these people, and basically asking for feedback on top of other things, right? I want to be Mr. Optimistic. I actually was a pretty big optimist going into Double Exposure. I was an optimist after the first two chapters, and when we were waiting for the final ones, right? I was kind of on the game side. I want to believe in the best for the game. I want to believe in the best for Max Caulfield as a character. I want to believe in the best for the franchise that, to me, has always kind of been up and down. We've talked about my thoughts on Life is Strange 2 and other things. I want the franchise to be good. I want the franchise to be strong. In order to do that, you have to make good games, and then they also need to sell, right? Because they've also made good games that haven't sold. That's an important thing to kind of remember. So I want to be optimistic. I want to believe in the future of the series. And to take an optimistic approach just for a second, you look at these sales and you look at the survey, and again, the rumor is people aren't really thrilled with what they're seeing. But I would like to just throw in, if they are serious about this, and if they see these numbers, we know people left, people were, probably laid off or let go of Deck Nine. I do think they saw the results, right? And money talks in the industry more than anything else. So, like, worst case scenario, but worst case can also still have some good things a part of it. You've got to look at these bad things that have happened and say, okay, we literally cannot repeat it. So that doesn't mean you're going to get a better product. I think it just means you will get a slightly different product. Otherwise, they're just really stuck in their ways for some crazy reason, right? Because there's only two ways this goes. Either you stick with the original plan, knowing that you've already upset people and it probably won't work because double exposure already didn't work, okay? So you stick with that original plan and you just, I guess you hope, you cross your fingers and pray. That is one way it goes. Again, I think that just shows stubbornness. I think that shows a lack of listening and a lack of, that kind of caring what the fans care about, okay? Now, again, the survey stuff and all of this stuff, that has gotten me more optimistic because it's like, okay, well, they want to hear what we think. And again, they're going to handpick people, but they're still hopefully going to get some honest feedback and, maybe people can steer them in the right direction. So that's always given me hope that at the very least they're willing to listen. They're willing to say, okay, what do the people think? Because these are all we got. These diehards, these are the people that have kept the franchise alive since the first game because nothing else has really latched on. So they're the diehards. We've got to at least support them or, appeal to them. And what do they have to say about this? Now, again, that does not mean it's going to necessarily be an amazing game. It just means that they might pivot. They might pivot to something that they think people will like and they still mess it up, or they pivot to something that they think people will like and it actually works, right? But that's really only two things they can do. Stick with what they're doing or change it up, and both of those are a risk, right? Because you don't really know how people are going to react. Hopefully it just works out. I mean, there's really nothing more, to say than that. But again, money talks. I think more than anything, money talks, and Square Enix works with Deck 9, right? And Deck 9 is like fighting for their freaking survival at this point. Like when they look and they see double exposure did not sell, and Square Enix is the one looking at these numbers and saying, we literally lost money off of this, right? They cannot be happy. They cannot want to do that a second time. And Deck 9 being the ones that were given the contract and are fighting for the sake of the employee's life right now, right? They can't want to do it again either, right? Because what happens? What happens if Deck 9 does this again? What happens if it's just not a good game or whatever? You could have whatever opinion you want on it. I actually don't think it's we've talked about it. I don't think it's a terrible game. I actually like it a little bit more than I dislike it, but it didn't sell. Okay, let's just say that. They make the next Life is Strange game, Deck 9, and it does not sell. It loses money again. I think they're done. I think Square Enix cuts the contract with them, cuts ties, and Deck 9 shuts down because I do not think they can survive without Square Enix's help. That's not a good thing that Deck 9 is in that situation, but I do believe that's a situation. So both sides cannot possibly want this to happen again. You know what I mean? And so there should be some sort of survival instinct that kicks in and says, okay, we got to do something. And that's what makes me believe that at the end of the day, they might end up changing it. Again, you could change it for the better, you could change it for the worse, but I feel like you can't keep going down the path. And that doesn't necessarily mean you drop Max. It means maybe you keep her and you just drop the Safi arc. You don't do this Avengers type thing. You do something else. Whatever it might be, I think you've got to pivot, and we'll see. We have a couple of years, I imagine, but we'll see what they end up doing. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.